What's going on, YouTube? So coming back today, got my next edition of my MLB rankings. So yesterday I did my catcher rankings. If you have not seen that yet, I'll put the link to the entire playlist in the description below. So just to kind of recap the format that I'm doing for this, I am doing my 3 outside and then top 10. So go ahead and start with my first player on the 3 outside, and I have the Atlanta Braves' Freeman. So I genuinely believe Freeman can get back to being one of the best first basemen in Major League Baseball, but just going from where the stats were last year and how good the Braves are supposed to be this year, it's hard to put him ahead of a lot of these guys that I've got ahead of him on the first base category. Last year he hit for 276, 18 home runs, 66 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. Not a terrible year by any stretch of the mind, but a guy that could definitely hit for 280, 290, 30 home runs, and maybe 90 RBIs. So like I said, down year as a whole. Obviously last year, down year for the Braves, and I think Freeman's the guy that they're kind of trying to build around. Alright, so move on to my next on the 5 outside, and I have the Anaheim Angels, well, LA Angels, Albert Pujols. So last year he hit for 244 with 40 home runs, 95 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases. So it was kind of vintage Pujols, at least home run numbers wise, after a down year in 2014. This is the guy that could be another big name this year in fantasy baseball and just baseball as a whole. Now, again, Albert Pujols to me, struggled down the stretch last year, but average kind of took a hit. But I do believe he's on an Angels team that could be very, very good this year. This is a very talented Angels team that has a lot of weapons in place to make a big run. Alright, so move on to my number 1 on the 5 outside, and I have the San Francisco Giants' Brandon Belt. So Brandon Belt hit for 280 last year, 18 home runs, 68 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. So kind of the season that people were waiting for from Brandon Belt. I think he's trending in the right direction. A very young, very talented first baseman. And I believe he's on a Giants team that could contend for the World Series this year. So moving to my top 10, at number 10, I've got the first baseman for the Kansas City Royals, and that is Eric Hosmer. So Hosmer hit for 297, 18 home runs, 93 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases last year. So Hosmer is a guy that I think could regress a little bit this year just because it just kind of seems like the Royals kind of hit a ceiling last year. I mean, if they can do better than they were last year, that's fantastic. But again, a team that I just don't know if they can do the same that they were last year. They lost a little bit in the starting lineup, I believe. They're down Ben Zobrist, and I don't know. It's just hard for me to see a team like that progressing after having such a good year last year. It's just a lot of people are looking at maybe having a down year for the Royals. They do lose a little bit on the pitching staff as well. I believe most notably Yanni Cueto. So move on to number 9, and I have the LA Dodgers' Adrian Gonzalez. So Adrian Gonzalez hit for 275, 28 home runs, 90 RBIs, and 0 stolen bases last year. For a Dodgers team that is actually looking a little bit weak offensively this year. This is a team that has a Yasiel Puig that really had a really down year last year. Stats have kind of been trending down for Yasiel Puig ever since 2013. And, you know, they're relying on a lot of young players now. If Jock Peterson can come back, have a big year like he did last year, kind of through the middle of the season, and then obviously Corey Seager, the number 1 prospect in baseball, then they can realize where they were a couple of years ago. But like I said, this is a team that is relying on guys like Adrian Gonzalez, Yasiel Puig, that are definitely one's getting older and one's, like I said, has stats that are trending down. So move on to my number 8 first baseman, and I have the Texas Rangers' Prince Fielder. Prince Fielder had a very nice season last year, one that I could have seen coming. The Texas Rangers as a whole kind of surprised last year. Prince Fielder hit for 305, 23 home runs, 98 RBIs, and 0 stolen bases. Now, don't know if he can replicate the same this year. Like I said, kind of had a year that came out of nowhere after a couple of down years for Prince. And, you know, it'd be good to see him again, or have a good season again this year. The Rangers are expected to make a little bit of noise in the AL West. But, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. So move on to my number 7, and I've got the Baltimore Orioles, Chris Davis. So Chris Davis was able to get re-signed in the offseason, coming back to the Orioles. There was a little bit of talk that he would leave Baltimore, and actually ended up staying. Last year he hit for 262, 47 home runs, 117 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. I believe he was the home run champion, and he pretty much blew everyone else out of the water for home runs. Also looks like he led in RBIs, and yeah. For first baseman as a whole, average obviously is something that Chris Davis is going to struggle with a couple of the guys around him, but he's a power hitter. That's just what happens. So move on to number 6, and I have the Cincinnati Reds, Joey Votto. Joey Votto really had a great comeback year last year. He ended up hitting for 314, 29 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 11 stolen bases. And he's the centerpiece for a Reds team that isn't supposed to be very good this year. They just traded away one of their best pieces in Todd Frazier. They might be getting rid of Jay Bruce this year, and not entirely sure what's going to be happening with Joey Votto. He's locked up to a long-term deal, so probably staying in Cincinnati. They're probably going to still try to build around him. So move on to number 5, and I have the Chicago White Sox, Jose Abreu. So Abreu hit for 290, 30 home runs, and 101 RBIs last year. And my opinion is the best player on the Chicago White Sox. Actually, the guy I just mentioned, Todd Frazier, is probably going to be his pretty much partner in crime this year. Again, a White Sox team that is not supposed to be very good this year. They invested quite a lot into the team last year, did not pay off. And I think Jose Abreu could continue to progress, though, this year. So move on to number 4, and I have a guy that struggled with injury last year, and that is the Detroit Tigers, Miguel Cabrera. So Cabrera hit for 338 last year, definitely not a down year average-wise, but only 18 home runs, 76 RBIs, and 1 stolen base. A guy that I think if he can play a full year can get back up to 30 home runs and maybe 90 or 100 RBIs. Again, that depends on a lot of it depends on what's around him. V-Mart should come back this year, have a fully healthy year, and the Tigers can be good, but like I said, they're a little bit thin depth-wise, and they're definitely an aging team. So, like I said, I think the average will stay up. Maybe not up around 338, but I think he'll definitely get the home run and RBI numbers up as long as he's able to stay healthy. So move on to my number 3, and I've got the Toronto Blue Jays, Edwin Encarnacion. So Encarnacion's been a mainstay superstar in the league for about 3-4 years now. He's a guy that I think is finally starting to get the credit he deserves. Like I said, this guy's been one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball for the last couple of years. Last year he hit for 277, 39 home runs, 111 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases, and coming back to a Blue Jays team that should be just as big a threat to make noise this year as they were last year. They lose a bit on the pitching staff, but pretty much keep the entire lineup. So move on to my number 2 first baseman, and I've got the Chicago Cubs, Anthony Rizzo. So Rizzo, in my opinion, really broke through last year, realizing pretty much his full potential. And he hit for 278, 31 home runs, 101 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, so an impressive stat there. He's a guy that I think will be the centerpiece of, one of the centerpieces of a very good Cubs team this year. You're talking about a Cubs team very deep with talent between Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant, like I said, Anthony Rizzo, and they still have a lot of young talent coming up that can make some noise as well. So, like I said, it should be a big year for the Cubs, and probably should see around the same production from Anthony Rizzo. Got up close to 100 runs last year, definitely a guy that could get above 100 runs this year. So move on to my number 1, and my clear-cut number 1, and that is the Arizona Diamondbacks, Joey Votto, Paul Goldschmidt. So, Paul Goldschmidt, big year last year after kind of running into an injury-plagued 2014. A guy that hit for 321, 33 home runs, 110 RBIs, and 21 stolen bases. A guy that is a lot of people's favorite to win NL MVP this year, and a guy that should be leading a very, very improved Arizona Diamondbacks team. Alright, so that concludes my first baseman rankings. And tomorrow we'll be coming back with my second baseman rankings. Like I said yesterday, I did my catcher rankings. If you have not seen those yet, I'll put the link in the description below. You should definitely go check those out. But that's pretty much it. So yeah. So I haven't dabbled too much in the MLB. Like I said, with the college football season over, I wanted to expand into other sports that I like to play, or that I also like to pay very close attention to, but really haven't done a whole lot of videos of. So basically the format for this video is going to be, I'm going to give my 3 biggest headlines heading into the season. Obviously, since the offseason's close to being